I'm going to make an executive decision here. I'm going to do a tier list. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a tier list. So let's go ahead and start. So let's go through. Today we're going to be doing smells for killers, how killers basically will rank upon one another based on how good they smell. And at the end of it, we're going to go ahead and do an average of all these killers and kind of categorize them and see kind of where the average killer ranks. So that way, when you step into a Dead by Daylight game and you're playing as a survivor, you know, hey, there's a pretty good chance that this killer is going to smell like this. It's not really going to do anything for you. It's not going to help your gameplay whatsoever. But if that's kind of the kind of thing you're into, I think this is going to be perfect for you. I think the Trapper is going to go right here in this rotting or burning flesh category. He smells awful. I mean, you look at this guy. He's just got these bars, these metal bars coming out of his body with these untreated wounds everywhere. I mean, he's got burning flesh, just like he's burnt all over from God knows what. He probably smells fucking terrible. He probably smells awful. So we're going to keep him there. The next one is going to be the Wraith. Now, the Wraith, when you look at him, he kind of just, like, he's got this weird tree vibe going on his head. I know he's supposed to be like some mystical like nature's like killer sort of thing. It's kind of the vibe he's got going on. He's got some blood all over him. Again, I didn't really look too deep into the backstory. This is going just based off of how they look and kind of the vibes that we get from them. And I think the Wraith is going to be kind of like he's probably going to smell bad. I don't think he's going to smell good just because of all the blood that's on his character. He's just coated in it. He probably doesn't smell very good, but I don't think like you're going to smell him and be like, oh my God, this is horrendous, and you're going to gag, right? Next up is going to be the Hillbilly. Now, Billy Boy, he's another interesting one. He's kind of like Evan, the Trapper, in that he, is kind of like this melted mess of a guy. He kind of looks really gross, but I think it might be a little bit of an overreaction just based on his disfigurement. We don't really know, based off of just how his face is deformed and stuff, that he smells necessarily bad in any way. I would say just because of the chainsaw, the gasoline, that sort of like that vibe that he has going on, the oil from the chainsaws and all that sort of stuff. He probably smells bad. He probably smells like piss or something like that. He probably just doesn't smell very good. So we'll put him in the bad tier. Another one that's going to be going on the tier list here today is going to be the Nurse. Now, the Nurse is an interesting one. She's and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Moving forward, the majority of these killers are going to smell like shit. Let's be completely honest. They're going to smell terrible. I'm also going to pause this music because it's really kind of throwing me off. So, the Nurse is an interesting one because she is a nurse, so she's usually supposed to be very sterile. Right? There's not supposed to really be any scent, maybe the scent of like rubbing alcohol or something like latex, plastic, stuff like that, from like different packaging materials from the sterile objects that she has. But clearly this nurse is not a standard nurse. So I don't think that she's going to be smelling very good. So I think this is going to be another one that's going to be kind of here in the burning hair or sulfur category. She just smells bad. I don't think that you're going to be absolutely repulsed by her smell though. Okay, moving on, we have got Michael Myers. Now, Michael is a little bit of an interesting one because throughout the movies, through everything that he does, he kills. It's just a murderer. They all are. All these characters are just murderers. They just kill people constantly. So that's not very cool, right? But I don't think that inherently, just based on what we can see on him, I don't think he necessarily is going to smell any one way or another. He's kind of just the embodiment of evil, and I don't know that evil necessarily has a smell. So I'm going to go ahead and put Michael at neutral. Another thing, too, is that he probably doesn't want to have a very offensive odor or just an odor that you can really smell or you can really pick out of a crowd or anything like that, because he relies on stealth. He relies on going around and making sure that he's able to sneak up on Lori and sneak up on all the other people of Haddonfield and making sure that they're all going to be not having a great time. So I think we're going to keep him in the neutral category. I don't think he really has a scent. The next one we'll go with is the Hag. Now, the Hag, I don't know anything about her. She's really, really, really disgusting looking. I can imagine with teeth like that, the way they look and the way that they're colored, and her was blue black tongue there. I don't think she's got very good breath. I think that everything in there, I just don't really think is going to be is going to be smelling very good. But again, I don't think the outward appearance of her really signifies anything as being like, okay, it's going to be absolutely repulsive. You're going to vomit from, you're going to just be so disgusted by her scent. So we'll put her in the bad category for now, and we'll kind of dive over that later. From there, Doctor is going to be rotting and burning flesh. If you can see around his eyes here and throughout his whole body, obviously this guy is just coursing with electricity. He's got electricity just going all throughout him. And what does electricity do to flesh when it meets it? A lot of times your flesh will burn. If you just touch an electrical wire, you're going to have a lot of heat and a lot of energy transferring to your body, and that energy transfer will burn your skin. So obviously this guy has burning skin all around him, kind of like with the hag. He's got some really fucked up gums and teeth and stuff like that, so can't imagine that he smells very good. So we're going to go ahead and put him in the rotting and burning flesh category. Next one is going to be the Huntress. This is going to be a hot take. I think the Huntress probably smells pretty good, and I'll explain why. She lives in a hut in the middle of the forest, and she chops wood all day, and she probably tends some sort of plants and gardens and something out there, right? She's got her little huts in the middle there. And so I think that with the Huntress, she's around all of this nature all the time. Which is kind of making me reevaluate the Wraith a little bit. But we'll go back and kind of reevaluate him later. With the Huntress, she's around all this nature. She's always around these trees and in the forest where it's raining and it's beautiful. She probably smells like flowers and like fresh cut grass, when she's chopping down trees or tending her garden or something like that. So I would, just based on that, I think relative to all the other killers that we've ranked here so far, she probably smells pretty good. So this is going to be the first one that actually has a pleasant smell. I think if you were around the Huntress, you'd be like, oh, wow, we're in the middle of the forest. This is beautiful. This smells great. That sort of situation. So I digress. We'll move on. Huntress, S tier. She smells amazing. Hillbilly. Or Hillbilly. Oh my gosh, I keep mixing up my killers today. Bubba, the cannibal. So with the cannibal, he is a cannibal. He doesn't look like he showers at all. He looks very sweaty. Looks like he has very dirty clothes on. He also wears human skin, which is concerning. So I think that we can safely put him in the rotting and burning flesh category. He smells terrible. I would imagine just the skin mask alone probably doesn't smell very good. So we'll keep him here. Yeah, exactly. The name, being a cannibal, kind of surrounding himself with human flesh all the time, is probably not a great selling point for the cannibal's smell, right? And then, of course, I think Freddy Krueger just goes without saying. I think obviously he's burning flesh. He is the embodiment of burning flesh. And I think that's a pretty easy one. The next one is going to be the pig. I think the pig is another one that, although she is wearing a pig's head, it's my understanding that from the lore of the series, it's a mask. It's not an actual pig's head that she's wearing. So it is a mask. It's just latex, and I think she's another one that her whole thing relies on her being stealthy. And actually, based on that, too, I'm going to go ahead and move Wraith up, just because, again, his whole thing is being stealthy. I think that we're kind of establishing the status quo for stealthy killers not really having a sense, because she's it's designed to be stealthy. It's a real pig head. Let's do some research. Let's find out. Amanda Young pig head real ? Pig mask from the Saw wiki. Let's see here, because I'm going based off of the Saw lore. I'm not going off of Dead by Daylight's lore, because it is a licensed killer. It is Amanda Young from the Saw films, and so I'm going to just kind of go just strictly based off of this information here. So let's find out what's going on here. Let's see. So if we're looking at symbolism, the original pig mask Jigsaw used to abduct a villain was from a Chinese street festival, which was marking the year of the pig, which is presumably made of rather cheap materials, unlike his later pig mask. Okay, so that kind of points towards it being a real head. But then it says here, shortly after his first game, Jigsaw began to use more sinister-looking masks that were made of realistic-looking latex. Usually the mask was topped with long, black, messy hair. Additionally, runlets of blood and pus surrounding the eye holes and nostrils, which suggested to be a symbol of guilt. So, I think, based on that, I don't think it's a real pig head. And another reason why, too, a real pig head, you would have to do some crazy-ass taxidermy to that to make it work. And even then, it would probably still have a pretty foul odor to it. I think Amanda's whole thing, again, is being able to sneak up on her prey. If you've seen the movies, if you've seen kind of how they abduct their people in the movie, they really rely on kind of the Michael Myers, I'm in the backseat of your car and you don't know I'm there, sort of sneaky. So I think, again, it's going to be, and this is just not even about the pig mask at this point. It's about Amanda Young as a whole. I think she's going to rely on being stealthy. She's not going to want to be somebody to get into their car and be like, holy crap, it smells really, really bad in here. What the fuck is in my car? Or in their apartment or in their house or whatever. So I think that she's just going to be a neutral smell. I don't think there's really going to be any scent that you can kind of pick up from the pig just based on the stealth aspect alone. I think she probably keeps herself pretty clean, but doesn't keep herself smelling good because, again, you don't want to walk in and be like, that smells like shea butter. Then you think, wait, hold on, I don't own any shea butter. Who the fuck is behind me? And then you get the jump on Amanda Young, right? That's not what we want. That's not what Amanda's trying to do. She's trying to just lay low, be as unnoticeable as possible, and I think that's going to put her in the neutral category. From here, we're going to move on to the clown. The clown is a big, drunk, smelly guy. I think we can safely kind of put him in the bad category. I don't think he smells good. I think he does have an odor to him, and I think that odor is going to be bad. Like alcohol, he probably smells like whiskey or rye or whatever you want to say. He probably smells like sweat. He probably doesn't have a good odor to him at all. So we'll put him in the bad category. He also is mixing those potions. Those potions might have some sort of offensive odor to them. We don't really know if those potions smell at all. We can only really make assumptions, and that's about all these killers. But I think just based on the information we know, he probably doesn't smell good. He probably does have a smell, but I don't think it's going to be like rotting flesh. I don't think you're going to gag from smelling the clown. So that's fair. So we'll move on. Let's move on to the spirit. Now, the spirit's a pretty interesting one because she is undead. She is a dead girl that was brought back to life to seek vengeance against the person who killed her, very similar to the person who was right below her, because the spirit is actually based on the Onryo in terms of their lore. They're both kind of the same thing, just one is licensed and is the one from The Ring, right? So based on that, I think we can safely kind of put her in the rotting, burning flesh category here. So I think that this is a pretty safe way to go. I might actually put a category in between burning hair and rotting flesh. I might put something below that because I think this is going to open it up a little bit more for us, because I don't think that she smells like rotting flesh necessarily. I think she probably smells like a wet dog. I think that kind of categorizes a little bit more. Well, no, let's actually just put her here. I think the Onryo smells like a wet dog because her whole thing is she came out of a fucking well and she's soaking wet all the time. So I think that she's like going to be like a wet dog sort of smell. And I think this is going to add a little bit more, a little bit more opportunity for some different takes here. So, for instance, like if we're taking breath into account, I think that with the breath aspect of it, she probably is going to be a little bit worse than like Hillbilly or Nurse or Clown, who they probably just smell like alcohol or something like that. They probably don't smell too bad. So we'll be here with these killers. The Legion. Now, I did kind of expand some of the categories here. So I did add a category right below burning hair. And I changed this to kind of the wet dog smell, kind of just like, just you smell and you're like, man, this kind of smells bad. I don't really want to be around this very long. But of course, like, you have your like a wet dog near you. It's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst thing that could possibly be smelled. The next one is going to be like really bad, really, really awful smell. You definitely want to clear the room. We're going to update this to, this is expired milk and halitosis. So halitosis is the clinical term for somebody who has bad breath, but it's due to an actual condition called halitosis. So this is going to be a little bit beyond just a wet dog smell. So that's obviously, I'm looking here at the hag's blue tongue, black tongue, orange teeth sort of deal here. Same with the spirit. She looks like she's got some real nasty stuff going on there, but I don't think they necessarily smell like rotting flesh. They say that like rotting or burning flesh is the worst thing that a human being can smell, not only just from like because it just smells bad just based on the chemical reaction of it burning or it rotting, but because as humans, to smell another human being like burning or rotting, like their meat rotting is supposed to just cause some sort of innate reaction in us to just be repulsed, like nothing else, right? So that's kind of the differentiation between these two. Don't get me wrong, the green category right here, the expired milk, this is awful. It's horrible. You don't want to be around it. You want to leave the room as soon as possible. But this is just one step farther, I think, that we can't quite describe. So let's move on. So we got the Legion. I think the Legion probably smell pretty bad. I think that they're always running around. They're probably pretty sweaty. They're out causing havoc all the time. So they're usually probably just going to be really, really, really kind of wonky in terms of their smell. I don't think that they got like Axe body spray going on or anything like that. So I think we're going to put them in the burning hair and wet dog category here. They probably smell pretty bad. Next one is going to be our lovely Vomit Comet, the Vom Mom herself. Plague is going to be in the rotting flesh just because of the blisters and the boils and the meat just decaying on her face. Wow. You can go into a whole lot of different descriptors here to describe how terrible the Plague looks. And I can only imagine how she smells. She also quite literally projectile vomits everywhere. Doesn't help. So I think this is a pretty safe bet here. Now, the next one, I know. I've gone on about stealth killers. They smell neutral. They don't have a scent. They want to sneak up on their prey. And I get it. I do. However, I think it's important to notice that between Michael, the Wraith, and Amanda Young, they are in a little bit of a different category. I think Super Chillin's right. Deodorant. The thing about Ghostface, and this transcends Dead by Daylight. In all of the Scream movies, the thing about Ghostface that makes him so terrifying is that it's everyone around. It could be anyone around you. It's played by so many different people throughout the entire franchise. I think it's 14 different actors have played Ghostface, and then 15 if you're considering Dead by Daylight's own character there. So we're talking 15 different iterations of the same character, and they're all just normal people. They're just people who go to your high school or who work with you or who are your friends or family, right? And so you got to think that they're probably just wearing deodorant. They're probably, getting ready for their day the way that they normally do, and then when they get home from work, they're putting on their mask and going killing, right? That's kind of how I envision it happening. And so I think that they're going to be wearing deodorant just because, again, they're normal people, whereas like Michael is the embodiment of hatred and evil, probably doesn't have a smell. The Wraith is kind of one of these nature kind of guys, but he literally turns invisible. So I don't really know how you I don't really know how that works. Don't really know how smell works there. So we're going to keep that neutral. And then Amanda Young, we also described with Amanda, her biggest thing is, I I think that they want to be odorless. I don't think they want to smell like anyone, because their biggest goal in life is to fulfill the aspirations of Jigsaw. I forgot his name. Oh my god! I just watched one of the movies last night, and I already can't remember his name. Kramer. John Kramer. So they want to fulfill Kramer's ideology of, like, you know, punishing people, and that's Amanda Young's whole deal. So I don't think that she's going to be caring about smelling good or anything like that. So next one is going to be the Demogorgon, the doggy guy. Let me go over and just mention what Duck said here. So Ghostface is multiple people killing in one movie, so not one person. They're trying to blend in as a friend so they would smell good. Exactly. No, you just put it into a great perspective there. You've got multiple people trying to be the same thing, trying to kind of confuse people as to who it could be. They don't want to, you know, they want to make sure that it's going to be as unexpected as possible, and they are trying to blend in with the people around them. They don't want to draw attention to themselves, and the majority of people wear deodorant, so they're probably trying to blend in that regard. So I think that's an important thing as well. Next one's gonna be the Demogorgon. So this is like an otherworldly being from an entirely different dimension. I think just based on the fact that it eats flesh constantly, it doesn't bathe itself. I don't think we've ever seen it bathe itself. This is a tough one to gather. I'm like kind of in between these three. Like, I'm like, wet dog, because he's called Demodog. Like, he's called it, you know, they're called Demodogs, you know, in the first the second one, the little smaller Demogorgons or Demodogs, stuff like that. People call him Demodog in the game. You know, maybe it's like wet dog. We can kind of be kind of cutesy with that. Also thinking like expired milk halitosis. He's probably got bad breath from eating meat all the time. Rotting flesh. I don't know. There's nothing on here that really suggests that the Demogorgon is rotting or is burning or has anything that would resemble that scent. Of course, we don't know. So I think I'm going to put him in between the three bad categories and just put him in the awful category. I don't think the Demogorgon smells good in any regard. I don't think it smells like burning hair. I don't think it's this category here, but I think it's something where you want to get out of the room for sure. And yeah, if we're talking about demo, Duck says here that green would be for the Demogorgon, and that the Demo Dog would be the yellow category of wet dog. Sure, I agree. That sounds fair. Next one's going to be the Oni. The Oni is like a big ogre troll monster. That's kind of how it's, I think it's like an ogre demon is kind of how it's described. So it's another like otherworldly kind of being that kind of just is not dead or alive, kind of like a lot of these killers are. So I don't think there's anything about him that necessarily gives us any context clues as to like a burning, rotting sensation, or like a good sensation. I don't think he smells very good, if I'm being honest. I think looking at one of these two categories, maybe get some audience input here, but I'm thinking, I'm leaning more towards like burning hair, wet dog smell. You're thinking D? This is D or this is D? This is D? I'm thinking, well, yeah. Yellow, I'm pretty sure his hair flames up when he's enraged. That's a good point. Okay. So it's like burning sensation of the hair around him and stuff like that. Another thing too to consider is that, you know, he's got that big club that I don't know. He's got the big club. How often does he clean that club? Right? How often does he clean that thing off? It's bloody. It's probably got guts all over it. You know, how often does he clean that thing? However, the other thing too is that, you know, he's supposed to embody a samurai, you know, culturally speaking. It's supposed to be, you know, like a demon ogre samurai. So samurai typically would keep their equipment clean, their sword. They would try to clean their sword off and stuff like that. So we can kind of, I think we put him in this category. I don't think we have any reason to put him down here. And yeah, it would be, I think we're considering red to be S, A, B, C, D, and I guess this would be F, or E, whatever you want to say. So I think this is fair. I think this is a fair tier, because you guys got to consider that this burning hair, wet dog, bad smell is going to be the average. That's going to be where the majority of killers are at. Because they're killers. They're constantly surrounding themselves with body parts and blood and guts and shit. And I don't think that they probably don't smell very good. Okay, so the next one we have here is the Death Slinger. Now, the Death Slinger is a little weird. This is a little interesting because you can see here he's got this like this whatever you want, like infection or rot on the side of his face there, but we can't necessarily say that that's like burning flesh or rotting flesh or anything like that. Let's pull up maybe a little bit better of a picture of the Death Slinger. Dead by Daylight. Caleb is his name. And let's see if we can get a little bit of a better picture to kind of, analyze this and see if we can get any information here. Give me just one moment while I pull something up. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much. Unfortunately, there aren't very many good pictures of this. Okay, so let's maybe just use... Yeah, it's really unfortunate because just with the game's graphics in general, there's really not too many pictures that you can pull up that are going to be very very helpful. Let's see. I think what do you guys think? What do you guys think for Death Slinger? It's an interesting one. He's definitely one of these two. I don't think he's going to get past a C tier. He's going to be D or F. Either he's got really bad breath and he's just a really stinky dude, or he's got this rotting flesh sort of syndrome going on here. I think a big problem with him is that he's wearing so many clothes. It's hard to see kind of what's going on there. So yeah, I think green's going to be a fairer bet. We really don't want to make any assumptions. We don't want to offend the Death Slinger at all. We want to, of course, make sure that we're sending as many good vibes his way as possible, to make sure that, of course, when we face him in the game, hey, we're not judging. We're not rushing to conclusions about how this guy smells. Of course, we want to respect our killers and make sure that we're doing good by them, right? So I think that's a fair one. Now we have the Executioner, Pyramid Head. Where does the Pyramid Head go? The Pizza Boy. Pizza Boy, Pizza Boy. Pizza Boy, Pizza Boy, Pizza Boy. This is a tough one. So I'm thinking about this a couple of ways. I'm thinking about the lore of Silent Hill and Dead by Daylight and kind of combining them and thinking, okay, because this Executioner is not necessarily the exact embodiment of the Silent Hill Pyramid Head, right? Because this is an actual physical manifestation. Okay. It's supposed to be like, it's something that can basically interact with these real people in basically within that within the realm of the game, right? Yeah, so he's an embodiment of James's desire, or not desires. That's the nurses. The nurses are his sexual desires, and the Executioner is like his hatred. It's his anger. It's all of like those vile bad thoughts, like his anger and hatred and stuff like that. Anyways, so I don't think he would actually have a scent. It's because he's not a physical thing, right? That's how he's designed in the games. He's not it's not real, he's not like, and of course I say he's not real, and I know people are gonna say, oh, well, none of these characters are real, right? But of course we're talking about within its universe. It's not, the Pyramid Head's not real. It's all in James's head. It's kind of it's his own sort of thing, right? And so we're gonna go with the Dead by Daylight interpretation that it is a real thing. We're also going with like the movie's interpretation of it. Again, it's real. It's a real thing. He actually is able to kill the main characters and cut their heads off and shit. And he's like, he's just this big baddie that's able to somehow carry around a giant knife that's like 200 pounds and swing that shit around. But anyways, we'll consider that he's real. I think if we're looking at some Pyramid Head, let's see. Some Pyramid Head lore. Let's look around at him. Let's kind of take a look at what he looks like kind of in the movies or in kind of some other interpretations of him. So let's kind of pull this over here, perhaps. Never mind. Let's see. Open image in a new tab, perhaps. Yep. All right, perfect. Let's bring this over here. So I hope you guys can see this. Yes, of course you can. So lovely. So we have this guy here. So I think that just kind of, if we're looking at everything here, wow, this really sucks. I'm so sorry. I wish I was more prepared than this. Okay, perfect. So let's look around. So this is from the game, right? Got some dorky shoes. What the heck are those, man? Those are crazy. Anyways, he's kind of wearing his signature gown here. He's got some blood all over him and stuff like that. So that's all cool. That's fine. He probably doesn't smell very good. He probably smells, that's probably like a D tier right there. Just based on that. Over here, we kind of see he looks a little more clean, just based on between this and this. He's not wearing the apron fully, which is kind of hot. He's very, very muscular. Got a different shaped helmet. Not as bloody. So, but then we look at the game's interpretation. It's very bloody. It's very gory. I think just to be safe, to be consistent, and to be respectful to the other killers, we're going to put the Pyramid Head in the D tier here. We're going to put him in the green. I think that he probably smells pretty bad. I don't think there's any real reason to think that he smells like rotting or burning flesh. And I think this is going to be a safe one. Okay, now we get to one of the ones. Well, we get to. We got a whole bunch of fun ones left here. The Blight. The Blight. I don't know how Blight serum smells. I don't. If I'm being honest, I don't know what the fuck this would smell like. I don't know. I don't want to know. So I'm just going to assume that it probably doesn't smell very good. I would probably imagine it smells worse than the Pyramid Head. Just gut reaction. I'd put Blight in neutral because his power came from a flower, didn't it? But I'd put him between neutral and yellow. However, that may be true. But we got to think about what that does to his body, right? So the Blight serum and what it has done to transform his body. I mean, his nose is completely fucking fried off, man. I mean, look at his skin. It is very clearly just not good. It's not in a good spot. Let's look him up. Maybe get a little bit of a better picture going. Blight, Dead by Daylight, images. Let's go ahead and pull this guy up here. Okay, here's like one of the animations that the creators did a while back. So, I mean, if we just look at this guy, I mean, this is all kind of lit up and it's kind of burning. It looks like, I mean, it just looks like it's kind of on fire. It doesn't look very, very fun. It looks acidic. It almost looks like it's it's kind of rotting, whatever's going on here. I just don't think that whatever the hell is coming out of this body smells very good. I just simply can't. I can't accept that. So I think that just on the basis of this lovely, lovely goodness, he is probably F tier almost exclusively because we can't describe it. But I can't imagine it's good. Now, something that I know doesn't smell good is going to be the twins. The twins have this rotting dealio going in her side. So yeah, this is the perfect example here. What the fuck does this smell like? This giant fucking cavity in the side of her body. I mean, it sure as hell doesn't smell like fresh cut grass. And I think a wet dog would be much more pleasant than whatever this rotted. I mean, she's literally just carrying a hunk of meat on her side that's probably rotting. She herself, Charlotte, is rotting. Victor is a little shit. He probably doesn't take a shower. He probably smells like crap. So twins are going here. They're going in the bottom tier. No discussions about that. Now, someone who I think probably smells pretty great is twins. Or not twins. What am I saying? Trickster. These killers' names. My goodness. I'm all over the place today. The Trickster probably smells pretty great. And I'll give you some reasons why. His whole kind of backstory is he's like this pop star kind of famous dude. So my assumption on that is that because he's wealthy, he can probably afford to have some really nice colognes, some really nice like lotions and shampoos and really, really high quality stuff that help keep him clean. Besides like the blood marks on him, he looks like he kind of takes care of himself. He's got cool hair. He's got nice clothes. He's seems like a very rich, kind of affluent, kind of cool, wealthy guy. And so I think just based on that alone, we are going to put him kind of in this category because I would just imagine he takes care of himself. So after reading this, so let's go through a couple of key points here. So the very, very first sentence of his lore kind of puts me more towards S tier. It says here that Ji-woon thrived under the attention of others, energized by every eye that watched him and every tongue that spoke his name. So I think just based on that, it kind of shows that he really drives home the idea that he takes care of himself and he's going to be, he wants others to love him. He wants to be kind of like, again, that famous, that perfect ideology of just this rich, affluent guy. So again, we're talking perfumes, we're talking colognes, we're talking, all the finest thing. And yeah, so Duck, I know you mentioned that because they're all in the entities world and there are no showers there. I mean, based on that alone, we could put everyone in the bad category, right? But I think more of the idea is like outside of the game, just based on the characters who they are, how do we think that they would smell? Like if we were to take them out of the entity, out of the realm, and plop them into our reality, like how would they smell? Right? Just based on how they live, how their lore goes, how their life goes. That's kind of what we're doing here. It's not necessarily like, okay, like if we're in the realm, how do they smell? Because yeah, they all probably smell like shit. All the survivors probably smell like shit. There are no bathrooms. There's nothing there. So yeah, I think this is going to be this is more of like a how they would smell if you were to take them out of the end. Like if you were to just plop them into the room with you right now, what would your reaction to their scent be? Right. And I think this is kind of I think so far so good. And this is kind of how I envision it being. It's going to be kind of like a very, very degrading scale here where it's going to just lower and lower and lower. And as we get lower, more and more killers are being represented because let's be honest, most of them are covered in guts, most of them are covered in blood, and they smell terrible. But just based on Ji-woon's lore, his whole thing is that he tries to keep up this facade of being this famous guy, this artist who, makes this amazing music and kind of swoons his victims and kind of seduces them and tries to get them alone, and then he kills them and stuff like that. That's kind of how he targets his prey. And so I think based on that, he would try to be as attractive and as good smelling as possible. And I think that's kind of what I've been able to gather from his backstory. On the flip side, the opposite of adoration and wanting attention is the Nemesis, who wants nothing more than to just be left alone to kill the star agents. So let's go ahead and put him in the rotting and burning flesh category because he literally is just a conglomeration of meat that's kind of just hanging out and chilling. He's, definitely a zombie-esque kind of killer. He doesn't look like he has anything about him that works. So we'll go ahead and put him there. Next one's going to be the Cenobite. Cenobite. We get into a form of redundancy with the Cenobite that's a little strange, because their whole thing is like pain is pleasure, right? And so, like, if they smell bad, to them it smells good. But then good smells, because if they actually smell good, then that's bad. And they don't want to smell bad, or they don't want to smell bad because that's good. So then they want to smell good, so they hate it, so that they love it. It's just this really weird kind of thing I've been thinking about with Cenobite. It's just so weird that, like, the fuck is this guy got going on? I mean, I think, dude, I mean, oh my God, let's just pull up a picture of him and kind of evaluate something here. Another important thing to think about that really bothers me about this character is really just his outfit and how everything is kind of designed here. Look at this. So his outfit was crafted and designed by someone, right? Someone, some sort of, whether it's a demon, whether it's this, Cenobite himself, whether it's just some seamstress, some person that is just over here sewing clothes for some money on the side. They designed this suit in mind for him to peel back some flesh and hook it down like that, right? You look at these slits, slit, and it's clearly designed for him to just kind of peel back some nipple flesh, kind of pin it down below, and then pin the next section of nipple flesh and pin it down below, and then kind of go through that kind of that motion there. So it's really an interesting thing to consider. So, terrible outfit design aside, the whole nipple flesh thing is kind of weird. It's a choice, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I think having all of this exposed flesh is kind of not good in the smell category. I don't think this would necessarily be pleasant to be around. I also think, again, just based on his whole character's vibe and what he's trying to do, he's like, oh, pleasure is pain. Yo, this is so fucking good because I smell terrible. I think he would choose to smell bad. I think that's kind of just his whole thing. So we'll kind of put him down here. He probably wants to smell bad. It's probably a choice. It's okay. So the next one is going to be the artist. This is a weird one, because if I'm not mistaken, that's all ink. Isn't that ink? That, like, shit pouring out of her eyes and mouth and skull, her head. It's ink, right? She's made of ink? Okay, so she just smells like ink. So, I mean, her hair actually looks quite lovely. It really does look like she takes care of it. Like, she does a good job taking care of herself. So I think this is a tough one. I think we're gonna kind of put her in the neutral-ish, because I don't think ink really has a smell. I think it's kind of, or it does, but it's not very offensive. It's not something that, like, oh, you're gonna smell it right away. If you're in a room with it. If you're in a room with a lot of it, well, I guess that's a good point, because she is kind of literally like 8 feet of ink just pouring out of a carcass, basically. So I think, I don't know. I don't know if you can really say that it's, I think it's subjective. So we'll keep her neutral. I think it's subjective. I think if you like the scent of ink, you might like it. If you don't like the scent of ink, you might hate it. So I think it's about neutral. It's not offensive to some. It's offensive to others, but it's not bad. I don't think it's a horrible smell, right? Kind of like gasoline, the smell of gas. Some people really like the smell of gas. Some people hate the smell of gas. You kind of put it in neutral, right? it's kind of, it is what it is. Okay, now this is another one that I was fucking worried about. The dredge. What is this thing, man? What the fuck is this guy? This turkey neck looking bitch. What is this guy? God damn. So I started playing Dead by Daylight after he had already come out. So I wasn't here to hear about this fucking meat sack doll arm bitch known as the dredge. So like, what the fuck? He's just body part. He's just meat. He's just like, I mean, I can't imagine it smells great at all. Right? Am I crazy? Yeah, I think that's got to be there. If I'm being honest, I don't think it smells good. I don't. Flesh from different things. Yeah. I don't think that would mix well together. I don't think like turkey flesh and human flesh and doll parts would mix well together. And the last one is going to be Wesker. This one might come as a surprise to some people, but I think, once I kind of talk about it, it'll make sense. So Wesker is obviously kind of the main antagonist of the Resident Evil series. He's the CEO of the Umbrella Corporation, and I think just based on his CEO category, I think he's going to be an S tier. Actually, I think that it's going to be based on he lives this kind of luxury, grandiose life. If you've ever seen him in the games, like he always has some like crazy exotic office or like really cool building that he's in or something like that when you meet him. Like he's always kind of like a really high life kind of guy. He dresses insanely well. He's got this really, really luxury leather suit that he wears. He's always got slicked back hair. He's always clean. I would imagine this guy probably, just based on the looks, tries to take care of himself, probably really cares about how he looks and how he smells. So I would say that he's gonna be an S tier. Sorry, Doug. I think Ghostface is in a league of his own. I really do. And then we'll put, I don't know. This is a tough one. I don't know. This is hard. Because one thing in me makes me want to add cologne to this, like perfume cologne, and then move Trickster and Wesker down here. And have Huntress in a tier of her own. Let's try it out. It's all good. I like where everyone is at right now. Nice. Now, where would you put the knight? Where would I put the knight? That's tough. We don't know too much about the knights. I think I would probably reckon we'd put the knight somewhere around where the Oni's at. I think his approach is going to be very similar to the Oni's, where in the battle he's going to be ruthless and slaughter. He wears a lot of heavy armor, so he's going to be sweating a lot. He's not going to have very many opportunities to bathe due to what he does, and I think that he would end up probably smelling like sweat, excrements, probably smells like piss, just overall, just like, okay, a guy who's been in battle for 10 hours and can't have a piss break, and is having to fight and, piss himself and all this sort of shit. And it just kind of going into that. I don't want to go too far into those details, at least any farther than I've already gone. So I think this works.